Minimoog. It's still my favorite to play because there's something about these wheels and the way this filter speaks that it takes you into something that's really familiar, and it's expressive and it feels it under your fingers. So I think what you're looking for when you're performing these kinds of sounds, you want to get into the interface, so to speak, right? Because it's how it feels like from a human connecting the notes and expressing human characteristics like pitch bend and vibrato that make these sounds come to life. Like, I'm going to show you how to make the patch, but I think there's more to it. It's the song, always, right? Because it's kind of a repetitive thing and allows you to sort of freely play around with it. And I was taking my own liberties with it. It kind of takes my breath away doing it because it's just real to me. It's like a performance. And when you feel like you're in the pocket playing these instruments, your body's into it, your heart rate's into it. And it's just a different sense of, when you're MIDIing something and then you've got all the notes going together and you can achieve more like perfection, right? But this is something different. So as we move forward into the future, right, maybe we're going to bring some of these techniques and feelings forward along with all the new stuff that we have, right? Because I think it's going to be something great, something that I've never heard before and I'm really looking forward to hearing. So let's get into the Minimoog and find out how to make this sound. Quick interruption. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. You really all mean a lot to us. We appreciate where we are today, and it's all because of you. So click those buttons and leave your comments. We read them. They're so thoughtful, and they give us good ideas for making videos in the future. And I also want to point the attention to Think Like a Synth, this course, because I haven't really talked about this part of it so much, but I really geared it towards a non-technical point of view. And one of the things that I had to figure out from an early, time when I was doing sessions was to avoid knob confusion. And I'm calling it that because like when you're just turning the knob and trying to get a sound and then you don't really know what it's going to do and you're just kind of listening and then it doesn't do exactly what you want and you kind of find your way. I couldn't afford that. So I came up with a method. I had some great teachers and I sort of put it all together. And it's the same method that I use right now that I've been using for 40 years on hit records and films. And it helped me be able to make the sound before I heard it. So, because I didn't always have the opportunity, there were other musicians in the room and things were going on. So, I didn't even always have the ability to put headphones on. So I could make the sound, get it close on the panel, at least 80%. And I know you can do it. And then I can dial up the sound once I pull it in. I'm on the big speakers, and then, we can do something fun with the track. So the course is designed for that. Check it out. Let me know what you think. We're offering sales from time to time, so keep an eye on it. It's at anthonymarinellimusic.com. Think Like a Synth. And let's get back to this breakdown. So we're going to take a closer look at the Minimoog, and I'm going to show you the sound. It's kind of the same tried and true oscillator configuration. It just seems to be what people use for like getting that Minimoog bass, growl, and expression, right? So we've talked about it many times, but let's take a review. So we're going to get a close-up of the panel, and we can start with oscillator 1, 16 foot, and we compare that to oscillator 2, 32 foot. So that means it's an octave above because 16 is half of 32. So every time we go half, it goes up an octave, right? So you can hear oscillator 1. Right, I'll make it brighter so you can hear it. So at 16 foot, it's an octave above oscillator 2. If it were in unison, it would be like that, and we would have this. Which isn't bad, but that gives us a little bit more edge to the sound, right? A little bit wider. So it's as simple as that. Oscillator 1 is a sawtooth, and oscillator 2 is a square wave. I've done this many times. I put the square wave on the bottom, and they're an octave apart. Filter, they're cranked. They're both full volume, and I push the mixer hard. Mixer, right? Push it hard, so if we can get some saturation out of there, we will. filter cutoff frequency is close, so all the work's happening with the ADSR, which is an ADS envelope. The R comes from pushing this button because the decay button is the sustain, is the release. So you have D and R all controlled by one knob, but we're not using any sustain time. We want a very clipped sound, so we can be like this. And then it leaves room for the drum to hit. So what I was saying is that the envelope generator is doing all the work. So if we go to the amount of contour, that's the envelope generator amount modulating the filter, which is the cutoff frequency. So the cutoff frequency is 0. So that means the more I raise this up, this amount of contour, which is the envelope generator modulating the filter, it's going to get brighter and brighter. And there's some good bass sounds that are in this range, but flashlight's a little bit bumpier, right? And notice the Minimoog has a single trigger, so it doesn't do, you don't hear all the attacks. Like on a lot of synthesizers, you would hear all those attacks, but I can do smooth growl, rips, you know, like human kind of moan sound. That's something special about the Minimoog. And you just get used to just throwing away notes sometimes, and if you put them on the beat, it's part of the expression of the instrument, right? And then I have just the slightest amount of attack time to slow the attack down, as opposed to, there's just a little bit, here's a lot. You hear it go wop wop. So just a little bit. And one thing you heard, like when I had played these high notes and I played this afterward, the pitch just rips down. That is glide, as you can see right here on the keyboard. When I push this button, keyboard control voltage will be lagged so that it'll slide from one note to the other. Without it, it goes straight to the note. With it, and it's at the rate of the glide, so it could be, but I don't want it to do that, right? So when I do the figure, it kind of, that was without it. Now with it, you hear that? That's straight. It kind of has a little bit of whoop, rip. And that helps it kind of rip through the track. And then the VCA, right? It says loudness contour. It's really not doing much. It's just attack time down, decay time down to 0, both of them down to 0, and the sustain levels all the way up. So whatever I have going on in the filter is just passing through the VCA, and it's adding color, but you have to go through it on the Minimoog. It's the output stage. And you know, the rest is history. I added a little bit of vibrato, and that's oscillator 3, right? It's a triangle wave. That's the closest that you can get to a sine wave, and it's in low frequency, and I don't have keyboard control voltage, so it's the same rate no matter where I go. If I had it, it would be, see how it speeds up? I don't want keyboard control voltage, so this is an important button. And then that's the vibrato, and then the pitch. And the thing that's the beauty of the pitch knob is it's not quantizing. So it's like, you know, the voice. It's a continuum of pitch. So you get all the nuance and all the expression. Last thing to look at is a little bit of keyboard tracking in the filter. So when I go up higher, it gets brighter. If I didn't have it, it would be kind of dull. And I'm using 2 because that's 2/3 of a volt per octave. 1 would be 1/3 of a volt per octave. So it's not as bright, it's a little bit bright. 2 is brighter. Together, you get a full volt per octave tracking. So 2, which is 2/3 of a volt per octave. And all that makes up the Parliament funky bass sound. It's very simple. You can make it on any synth, really, any plug-in, pretty much any analog synthesizer. If you go with sawtooth above the square wave, 1 octave above, and all these little nuances in the filter. So Work on your playing styles. Pitch bend, modulation wheel, and stick to the main pattern. A few fills here and there, a few rips. It's all fun. Hope you enjoyed this one. Stay tuned for more of these breakdown videos. We really love having you and look forward to your comments. Stick with the channel. Thanks.